It's January 17th, 2025. I am at Joel Pearl or thejoelpearl.com on Blue Sky, and it's time to get in the weeds. A fabulous Friday to you all. Hopefully it's a nice day, a beautiful day, less snowy day if you're in parts of the world where there is snow. I know there is here. Jeremy Lambert joins me as always because he can't say enough good things about this show. How you doing, Jeremy?
I'm well. It is snowy here. You know, it's a busy weekend, as all weekends are busy, because why would they not be? And yeah, that's about it.
You have the most Frank Reynolds byline going on today.
It was maximum cope, because I was listening to an interview with Cope, and Cope said that he wanted to use the name Cope. He was trying to get Cope over because Cope looks sexier on the marquee. So there's your explanation.
Didn't he already say that initially with Renee when it was like, I want to do this, but he hadn't yet?
Well, we're running it anyway. I don't think we ran it then. So now that it's official and like he's actually changed Cope is Cope, we're gonna run it.
That's fair. I think when he did it with Renee, everyone was like, please don't do this. This sounds stupid. And then he did it and they're like, you did it and it sounds stupid. But here we are. You have the trademark. You can do whatever you like, I guess. AEW World Heavyweight Champion Cope. Remember when the Cope Open was good enough?
Cope Ope.
Yeah, that's how you did the Open Copen.
The Cope Open.
Now I feel like we're just having problems with pronunciation. I'm gonna preface this with yes, the thumbnail. Yes, I know. I saw people.
What a big thumbnail Joel Pearl's using.
Kind of is, and I got to thank our pal Ryan Lambert because during the episode of Dynamite, he actually came up with the idea of maximum carnage, and I was like, and thus a thumbnail was born. And I sent it to you on Wednesday night, and I thought to myself, if anything bigger drops between now and then, I'm gonna run with this. Here's the caveat. There were a lot of really good things that happened on Dynamite. I actually enjoyed a lot of Dynamite. It was such a polarizing show that like one of the biggest talking points was about that particular segment, for better or worse, because there was a lot of hype going into the show about things like the women's Casino Gauntlet match, Kenny versus Brian Cage, the world title match with Hobbs and Mox. Like there was a lot of anticipation for it, and there was some good stuff that came out of some of it. But then there was stuff like the Ricochet promo wasn't super strong, for example, and also this Double J MJF, and then later on Double J and Dustin being like, "We're the last outlaws. We have to go out there." I don't know why he sounds like. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know why he's got to come out there and be like, "We're both old and we both have to win." And I believe that you can win.
Batman?
He just is
Gruff Batman.
Well, Gruff Batman was already like that.
I guess so. But he sounds like even gruffier.
Yeah, well, he's Batman Garofalo. You ever read the Garofalo book?
Mark Garofalo?
Jeannie Garofalo?
Is that a real person?
I'm thinking of Jeannie Garofalo? Gene Garofalo? Oh my God, who's the comedian? Yeah, the 90s comedian. Right. Gene Garofalo?
Yeah, Gene Garofalo. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah, Gene Garofalo.
Okay.
Yeah, she was great. Still around, but she was great. Anyway, yeah. So Dustin. So yeah, again, there was just like this half and half kind of going on, where some stuff was really, really strong and some stuff was not that great. We do indeed have the Garofalo, says the ITW Anonymous general manager.
The Garofalo? What do we have?
It's a series of books. There's a couple of them about the Garofalo.
I don't believe you.
Well, maybe you should educate yourself with books, Jeremy Lambert.
I can't read.
That is an accurate depiction of things. Anyway, there's a lot to talk about. Not just Dynamite. We got to talk about the TNA WWE renewed partnership, the Impact AEW partnership that's long gone, and some other stuff. I'm sure. You know, here. How about we just kind of go past this one. Logan Paul comes back to WWE. He's like, this is what I'm going to do. This is all I want to be. No more side shenanigans. And then he's like, well, if Nick Khan can pay me $250 million, I won't fight Conor McGregor on his watch.
Conor McGregor's not fighting. That whole thing is stupid. This dude's been talking about fighting for like 5 years now and hasn't actually done it. I don't believe Conor McGregor will ever fight again. Maybe it seems like he might need the money at this point, so maybe he will. But I don't see it. I don't see it. They keep talking about it. Oh, he's going to fight KSI. Oh, he's going to have a rematch against Floyd. Oh, he's going to fight Pacquiao. Oh, he's going to fight Logan. Oh, he's got a UFC fight. He was booked for a UFC fight in June, and then he broke his toe, and apparently it takes a year to heal from a broken toe. Like, I don't see it. I don't really care to see him fight anymore. Like, the bloom is way off the Conor McGregor rose for me. Like, super entertaining fighter in his prime, doesn't seem like the greatest person in the world, and don't really have an interest to see him fight. Definitely don't have an interest in seeing him fight Logan Paul.
Me neither. And that's why I just wanted to graze over it, because I saw it and I giggled about the stupid, the Logan Paul being like, oh, this is where I'm going to work now, nowhere else. But if you have money, like, this is what got you into this in the first place, Logan. Thank you. All right, let's move on. I don't know where to start. I mainly because we should probably do the thumbs up gimmick, shouldn't we? Yeah, we should probably leave a thumbs up. Like the video if you haven't already. What's wrong with you? We're so discombobulated that I don't even know what day it is. I said it was Friday, and it's Friday. So I guess I got that right. And while you're at it, you can subscribe to the channel, FightfulOverbook.com. That's where we are. You can check out the Fightful Awards on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. See, got that out of the way. People like that. That's on the main channel. And the TNA Genesis post show will follow TNA Genesis also on Sunday. Myself, Cresta Star, Steven Jensen, will be talking about TNA Genesis. I'm sure there will be enough news that brings Sean Ross Sapp out of his hole, and he will show up for our beginning of the post show, because usually when something happens, there's some news, he kind of says hello for the pay-per-view shows. The other ones is kind of like, it's hit or miss. And of course, you can drop a super chat. Any amount, get your question or statement read on the air. We always appreciate that, and we always appreciate y'all in the chat. So that's what I did. We did it. Let's do it. Can we get a pre-show? Do you think a wrestling company would ever give us a pre-show?
Oh, probably not.
Busted Open, our longtime rivals, have officially been announced for the TNA Genesis pre-show.
They've done that before, haven't they?
They did a whole ass angle on Busted Open because of this. They also did the Deadline pre-show. Remember how that went? That was great. Bully and David LaGreca talking about things that they totally watch on NXT.
Yeah.
Where's our invitation?
Yeah.
Is it because we aren't on 5 days a week, nationally syndicated? Is that why we're not? Is that it? I mean, Sam Roberts gets the gig once in a while. Denise gets the gig. I mean, we know she hustles. She's a hustler. She's hard. Do we not hustle enough? Are we not
Probably
pretty
not.
enough? We're not.
You run from the grind all the time, Joel.
Should we be shaving our head?
I'm not going to do that.
I'm not going to do that either. It's because we're not camera ready, right? Oh, no. See, this is what I'm afraid of. This is the pre-show we'll get invited to. And I don't want that. Nobody needs us on an NWA pre-show. Pretty sure the NWA pre-show would get more numbers with us on it than the entire show itself.
We should. What do you think they pay?
Engagement bucks.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's how they do. You're good podcasters. You're just not famous enough. It's fair.
I don't want to be famous enough. That sounds terrible.
Am I not famous enough? I just don't know if we'll ever get there. Jeremy can't read. How can he do a pre-show? He has to read the rundown. That's a very good point. That's true. Would you just make up the matches on the spot, or would you just hope that if you see the pictures of the wrestlers that you could fit it together? But with NWA, it might get a little dicey because,
yeah.
How would you do it? You'd just be like, who's that? Is that Tom Latimer? No, that's not Tom Latimer. That's EC3. Okay, EC3 versus is that Billy Corgan? No, Billy Corgan doesn't actually wrestle for us. Who is it? We have to look it up, and someone else has to bring up a teleprompter, figure out who it is. That's how it would work for you.
I would just say We got a great show. Tune in. NWA Hard Times 5. You're going to see a live performance of Creep by Smashing Pumpkins. And that's it. That's all
The
I would
false
sell you on.
advertising. The false advertising alone would get it kicked off the air.
Nah, whatever.
Billy Corgan's going to give a live solo concert tonight. Big onto that. Speedpunk sent a super chat saying, who's going to be watching the GCW Hammerstein show on Sunday? Not me. I have a TNA show to cover. I'm sorry. Anyway, Vikingo, Sydney Akeem, also Amazing Red and Homicide are on the card. You know who else is on the card, Jeremy? PCO. Current TNA digital media champion.
It was super hilarious that they did the thing last night of, oh, if PCO and Sami Callihan win, they're going to be added to the tag team match. And like GCW already announced PCO for the Hammerstein show. It's like, I mean, I know he's like a Frankenstein, but I don't think he can time travel, teleport out here. So I don't think he's going to be on both shows. I assume I just frozen now. And
now you're frozen. I wonder how long it'll last. 3, 2,
or a teleportation machine.
You said now I'm frozen, and then you came back in time for teleportation machine.
Yeah, I was making a very good point, and sadly, no one got it.
It's okay. PCO is gonna travel on the TNA jet. It's gonna go from Dallas to New York and back. Oh yeah, when they announced that match, the only person I knew who was going to be like, I thought that Sammy and PCO were going to win. You know who I thought was going to say that and who did say it? Live on the air, Cresta Star. Even though the week before we had discussed the fact that PCO is not working at the TNA show.
Bless Cresta.
Oh, bless her. And even today she was like, so I got to ask you about this is on the air, so I'm not like talking out of school. She's like, I got to ask you about the TNA WWE partnership. I'm like, you didn't hear about it yet, did you? She's like, no, I did. It hit my Fightful Select email. And I'm like, well, it didn't break on Select. I love Cresta. I always do. So she's a riot to work with. The stuff with the TNA crossover was funny. The stuff with PCO was hilarious. The GCW Hammerstein show looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I do look forward to watching it, and I probably will watch quite a bit of it on Monday morning, probably after our show, to be honest. But yeah, it'll be good. I know Steven Jensen's going to do a whole recap and rewind on the Weekender. That'll drop on Monday, he said. Probably Monday evening. So FightfulSelect.com, best $5 in the business for the next 2 weeks.
I'll be watching both shows. I'll be covering both shows.
I might keep one screen open for one and the other, but I just want to
see if there's any, like, football supposed to be over. See if my teams are playing on.
Well, remember Sunday. The whole reason TNA is running Sunday is because there's no evening game. I think the latest game starts at 6:30.
Yeah, I know how this works, Joel. I was saying I knew there's no football. Oh, the Thunder play the Nets. Oh, look, if we can't beat the Nets, we got big problems. So I'm not going to be super locked into that game at 7:00.
Maybe I don't know, how are the Avs doing? They going to win?
They play tomorrow, so I'm not worried about them on Sunday.
Sens keep winning. That's getting weird. I don't know how I feel about that. They might back themselves into a wild card spot at this rate. Although we're not even at the All-Star break, are we?
No.
Hey, speaking of All-Star breaks, when is AEW Grand Slam Australia going to air in the States? So that's news that came out. Grand Slam Australia is going to be basically taking over the Collision time slot on the Saturday.
Nope.
And then that was the plan.
Yeah.
And then people figured out, this is why we'll get to the end of the statement here. And then people started figuring out, wait a minute, the NBA All-Star weekend is that weekend. And I don't think that AEW is going to push the NBA off the slate. So what is happening? And do we don't have any explanation just yet.
So their original graphic and like advertising had, I'll even pull this up for everybody so everybody can see what I'm talking about. Visual representation for the visual learners out there. And I say I'm going to do this and my internet's not going to cooperate with me and it's going to be a whole ordeal anyway. So we will attempt to, we'll try to do this, everybody, with what's going on here. All right. So this was the first graphic that I'm going to pull up here in a second as it attempts to load, and then we'll show the second graphic. Here's the first graphic. Notice it says Saturday, February 15th, 8/7 Central, right? Everyone sees that on this first graphic for this Mariah May versus Toni Storm match. You can see that right in the middle.
Oh, dear.
The second graphic, notice there is no date on there. The date is removed from at least the 8 o'clock. It still says Saturday, February 15th at the bottom there, but it's no longer in the middle where it was before. It's also the colors changed a little bit there.
Yeah,
but
what happened to your color hue? It looks better on the second one.
It does. Look, this is the official AEW graphic. What do you want me to do? This is what they put out. I didn't change it up or anything. I'm not going to edit this stuff and blame AEW.
Some bronzer, some tanner, something?
Blame AEW. So anyway, you can see that it says Australia, Saturday, February 15th, 8/7 Central, and then the Australia 8/7 Central, Saturday, February 15th is gone. So there you go, everyone. They apparently realized or recognized that, oh boy, the NBA All-Star weekend is Saturday at 8 on TNT. Maybe our show is not going to run then.
How do you make that mistake? That's my only question. And I don't know who will ask it or when, but how do you make that mistake?
Senior Nerd saying it's not the All-Star Games to showcase in the lame-ass slam dunk contest. One, yes, the dunk contest has become super lame over the years. Nobody said it's the All-Star Game. I'm sure some people said it was the All-Star Game. They're dumb. It's All-Star Weekend, though. That's what it is. And Saturday night festivities are still a big deal. People like watching the three-point contest. People still like watching the dunk contest. They got the whatever they do now, the skills competition or whatever it might be. All-Star Weekend, All-Star Saturdays become just kind of whatever for me. I like the three-point contest the best at this point because at least like actual good players participate in that, not a bunch of G League dudes. But yeah, I don't know how you make that mistake. I assume they didn't clear it with somebody. They didn't think about it. They didn't look at the schedule. No idea. But it's not a great mistake to make. The whole Grand Slam Australia experience, if you want to call it that, has been a little wonky, from announcing they were going to run a stadium and making it seem like that it was going to be kind of a big deal because it's a stadium show. Usually you're not going to put that on regular television. I know technically Dynamite Grand Slam is a stadium show that airs for free, but the way they were promoting it, like they had Toni Storm and Darby Allin and Paul White doing media months ago for this thing. Like they made it seem like it was a pretty big deal. And then they had to move venues, downgrade the venues. And then it just seemed like maybe it was going to be like a Max special once that came to fruition, but they didn't really announce that. Now I feel like it's just going to air, and this would be terrible, but I feel like this is just going to air after All-Star Saturday. That's when I think it's going to air. I think it's going to air at like 10:30 on Saturday after the game or after the festivities. It's not really a game. That's my guess. But
so Dave Meltzer had put it in the Observer that is the belief as well. That they'll air the show.
I didn't read that.
After. Well, I just read that kind of as we were prepping for the show, and I was like, that could happen again. And with Dave, sometimes it's reading tea leaves, and sometimes he's got it and it's happening. But in this case, like if that's what they're going to do, it's fine. It is what it is. And Matthew Hook saying they could do it live on Max. I mean, I don't think the show is being given enough importance at this point to air it live on Max.
It should. Like if they had that capability, like, and they clearly do with the simulcasting on Max, and obviously it's going to be on Max, I would air it on Max. Zeno I was saying, why not just air it on Max and at 8 o'clock? I assume that's what Zeno Hour is talking about, at 8 o'clock or live. I agree that you could air it just live on Max. I think you could also air it at 8 o'clock on Max. People have said, oh, maybe it gets moved to TBS. I don't know if Warner Brothers Discovery wants to essentially compete with their own property in that case. I think that is the issue with potentially putting it on TBS or airing it 8 o'clock on Max, is They want to direct all the attention to the NBA stuff, not basically split their own audience. That doesn't really serve them to split their own audience like that. That's why you're probably going to see it after the All-Star stuff. Or I don't know if you're going to air it in the afternoon. I think it could air live on Max. I realize that might be like 2:30 for people, but some people will watch, and you can watch the replay afterwards whenever you want to get up. So I would air it live on Max if that was a capability.
Yeah, if it's something that they can do, they might go ahead and do it. But they're also wanting people to tune in and get the ratings for the actual, like the broadcast airing. So I don't know if that's another thing. And Ryan Adams in the chat mentioning Vengeance Day is also falling the same time, that same weekend. So yeah, it's a big mishmash. And again, you and I, Jeremy, we've talked about Grand Slam Australia and its importance and or lack thereof. It started off as one thing, it became a bit smaller. And then when everyone was like, this is it, Tony Storm's going to win the big one in Australia, and it's going to be the big, homecoming moment. And I said on this show with Kimmy on her last day in wrestling media, because now I can't let her live that down. I know she'll be back. Don't worry about it. But we talked about it. I said she'll lose in Australia. There will be a moment where she turns back into Timeless just in time to go to LA for Revolution and capture the title there. And I think that is a much more compelling story, especially with viewership, pay-per-view buys, things like that, than the Australia show, where you've got a time difference, you've got clearly an airing issue going on. I don't think that they'll move it to TBS either, because they usually run a Saturday night movie that does pretty well. That maybe not as well as what AEW could do, but that's pretty much a bread and butter TBS thing for them. And like you said, having them compete against the NBA, well, that's also a little bit foolish to do when it's on the same network that has both rights. So I just think that this will be a show. They clearly haven't put a lot of promotion behind it so far. They had the women's Casino Gauntlet match on Wednesday, and other than that, everything is like all in for Revolution.
It's not only that. You know what to me the biggest tell was? They're doing the
Ricochet in
yes.
Georgia 3. Oh, was it actually that?
Yeah, the fact that they decided to put Swerve and Ricochet on a Wednesday night Dynamite, which is fine, in Georgia instead of their pay-per-view, which, but it's the same week, or maybe it's the week before. Like I know it's not pay-per-view. Sorry, I misspoke on that. Instead of this show, that was a tell to me. Is like, if you're gonna make Grand Slam Australia a big deal, this would be a good spot for Swerve and Ricochet. But instead, they're just gonna do it on Dynamite instead of putting it on Grand Slam Australia. This show just seems like it's I think it has more importance than Battle of the Belts, but it's on par with just basically a Collision special, and that's fine. And look, they tried to make it a big deal by saying it was a stadium show. I think anytime you say it's a stadium show, you're basically creating an expectation that it's a big deal. The fact that it's been downgraded since then to just an arena show, but it seems like tickets are still moving pretty well for it, but it just seems like it's a big time Collision episode for an international audience. And I think that should be the expectation. I'd still like to know when the hell I'm going to watch it.
It seems like it was a sold show, not in the traditional, they bought all the tickets and they're going to distribute them out of Australia, but it feels like the people in Brisbane, they paid for it. They paid for AEW to come and run this show, and that's why it's running in Brisbane and not in Melbourne or in Sydney or in Perth. They got
UFC is running in Sydney the week before.
Sure, there could be some sort of non-compete involved there. But regardless, I mean, people are talking about how the Australian fans are feeling. And I've seen a little frustration that they were expecting a bigger show, or that they were hoping that one of the things was sightlines at the new venue versus the tickets that they bought. Like, apparently that was a little bit messy, getting their new tickets given to them in like a good or better area based on what they bought for the stadium show. That's a kind of a pain of going from a larger open air stadium to a closed arena format. But it does kind of suck, because you were expecting a lot more out of this show. And so far, you've got a really great story in the Women's World Championship match coming. You expected it. A lot of hardcore fans did. But other than that, like, you don't know. Is the Cope versus Moxley match going to be in Australia? Probably not. What's going to be in Australia? What's the match? The Omega and Osprey versus potentially Fletcher and Takeshita match. That's a big tag team main event match. If you don't run Mariah and Tony as the main events, that's a big match that you can do. I don't want to call it a glorified Collision, but they're certainly starting to treat it that way, given the airing and the way that they're promoting it.
The tag team match would be a big match. That's a good get for that show. I assume it'll be on that show. I guess we'll find out here shortly. I just want to know when I can watch it. That's it. That's all I want to know. I would just like to know that the show that is a month away, that has been promoted since when they announced this show, they announced it All In, right? They're in the All In pre-show.
Yeah, that was promoted.
Yeah, it's being promoted since August. I'd like to know when I can watch this show. That's all. That's all I'm asking for.
Let's hit a couple super chats. Tenruza sent a couple saying, "Need more Jeremy on Ask Rhapsody. Always great. I did see you do your run-in. Very good stuff." When who's representing you in the lawsuit?
I don't know. I guess I gotta find a good lawyer who can help me sue Fightful.
SP3 is really good at yelling. You could get him. Oh, he froze with that big shit-eating grin. That's great. Oh my goodness. I'll wait for you to come back and we'll finish the super chat. The smile is great. Get a screen cap of that. Yeah. Look at that face. Look at that. There you go. You're back.
Maybe I'm back.
Yeah. You froze with like this big smile on your face. It was very funny.
Sure. The last thing I heard you say was SP3. Is he going to represent me?
Yeah, that's what I said. He's really good at yelling at people, so maybe you should have him represent you. It might work.
Wow.
Well, I mean that lovingly. I did the Genesis not pre-show, and there I did a pre-show. I did the Genesis prediction show with him over on True Heel Heat because he's the only guy that can get me to leave the Fightful shell. It's True Heel Heat. But we did that, and he's good at yelling. We know this about SP3.
I'll get SP3 and Share Delaware. Just the FMC duo will represent me. I feel like that'll go well for me.
Yelling and petty, yeah, that would probably get you win. They know this. I love them. They get it. Also, the Australian Open tennis is on here in Melbourne, and the US Open. The US women's player Collins did a full heel promo here. I love it.
Good for her.
I didn't know about that. Yeah, when I was working on the cruise ships, we did a stop in Melbourne during the tennis, and we did an overnight in Melbourne. It was a beautiful city. Loved it there. But yeah, the Aussie Open is a big deal for y'all out there. But yeah, Jeremy, go on Ask Rhapsody again and just be the guy.
Now I like popping on that show and talking rap music with them. I'll never go on their main show because that's their domain. But Ask Rhapsody every once in a while. I like to just hang out there and talk a little hip hop and make fun of Drake because it's hilarious.
He deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. We spent one episode was good enough. We'll do more of it, I'm sure, but what a giant dork. Tenriz also sent a super chat saying AEW should have been smart and done it here in Sydney or done it in Sydney or here in Melbourne. AAMI, that's Amy Park, here in Melbourne would have been so good. More to do here as well. And that's the thing. I and many others agree with you that doing it in Brisbane wasn't the right play, but it was the people who are there, whether that was the ownership of the arena, whatever it was, they were the ones who got it. They paid for it. They were willing to bring it there. So at the end of the day, Grand Slam can only go where the money goes, and it wasn't offered in the other two places.
And again, the UFC is running in Sydney the week before, so I'm sure that had something to potentially do with it. They weren't going to run a show in Sydney when UFC is already running a show in Sydney.
Oh, this was the other thing, by the way, because we're talking about how do some of the Aussie fans feel. Some of them were expecting a stadium 3-hour like pay-per-view caliber show. And now the idea that it's going to be running as a Collision show, yes, hypothetically, you can cut down matches, or you can maybe show some that are exclusively in Australia and some are not going to be aired for television. So you could make the show a 3.5 hour show. But right now, with the way it's being presented to everyone who's an AEW fan globally, it's the idea that this is going to basically be a 2-hour taped show. And some fans are not big on that. They want to be there for the full immersive, like AEW pay-per-view experience. And You and I may not be the biggest fans of doing that, but there are people who really want to be there, especially for the first time live.
Yeah.
Tenor is also mentioning that Grand Slam is named after tennis. That's true. That's why it started in the US for the AEW events. A Grand Slam is also another tennis event. Anyway, point is, Melbourne has the Australian Open Grand Slam. It makes sense. Bid be damned. Internal travel in Australia is a bit expensive as well. Same thing in Canada. It's hard to get across this country. Giant landmass. Australia, same thing. You got your major cities just along the coastlines, and then everything else is on the other side of the country. I get it. And y'all don't have a train system. Get a good train system. Even the US can't figure that out. Amtrak sucks is what I'm saying. Have you ever done the Amtrak?
No.
Really?
The time I was on the train system was when I was visiting you. Like before that, I don't remember the last time I rode the train. Maybe when I was like visiting DC. That's probably when it was, when I was visiting DC. And that was like years ago.
Yeah, that's like public trains. That's like the trains, the subways. I'm talking like rail train. I'm talking like Amtrak, like the going cross city or cross country in a train.
No, if I've done that, it's been years.
We've got that here. It's called Via Rail. There's sleeper class trains as well that go from here to Vancouver. It takes 3 days, but you get room and board and entertainment and stuff. So some of the tracks are really poorly maintained in some parts of the country. So your 3 day jaunt can turn into 4 or 5 given the weather and other holds up. It's not great, but it exists. It works. We'll see where Grand Slam Australia ends up airing at the end of the day. All right. Since we're talking about AEW, let's dig into Dynamite. Opening match.
Okay.
What? Do you have something else you want to get into?
No. We can talk about the AEW.
We don't have to. We can talk about TNA instead. The Elegance is put on their pre-victory party with the Knockouts tag team titles.
It's fine. No, we were on AEW. I'm just joking around.
You don't want to talk about PCO and Sami Callihan versus the Hardys?
When's the 23 thing happening? I assume that's going to be their live show because isn't that like the 23rd? Yeah,
they're going to bring in PCO so Sami Callihan could beat the shit out of PCO and just write him out of the company.
Yeah.
I've been saying PCO was the first TNA re-signing when the thing happened, when TNA became TNA again. That was October 2023. That man has not signed an extension that we are aware of. So as far as I understand it, he is working without a contract, and I think he's done, and I think this is his write-off. I think.
Okay.
It's going to be Sammy, and people are going to be so upset about it. Oh, God. Then Sammy's going to win the world title. And then you know who's going to win it from him again like it's 2019.
Don't do that.
They're going to do it. Kenny Omega comes back to AEW.
Well, real quickly. So I missed I had to watch the first portion on replay. I missed it. I was doing fatherly things on Wednesday night. Did I'm So Excited play?
Nope, they're still waiting.
Wow.
They are still just holding on that. Open, hot crowd, pyro, but ballyhoo. Do the welcome, it's Wednesday night, you know what that means, and then we get into our match.
Wow. So yeah, I didn't watch like the full replay of the show. I instead just watched like segment by segment type of thing for the stuff that I missed. Wow, didn't play the I'm So Excited. Cowards.
Bunch of cowards. Yeah, they just kind of do it. They just kind of go into it. And like Henry's mentioning in the chat, they don't play an entrance song. It's been a year now. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Like it's the same thing with WWE. Sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't. It really just depends on how the show is structured.
WWE does it when like they do like the walk-ins though, and they play it as like the background while they do the walk-ins, don't they?
Yeah, they tend to. But again, like certain shows, this is why we talked about whether the Pointer Sister thing like works or doesn't, because they have the secondary Dynamite theme and they're mostly using that. Whereas WWE, like they have NXT has secondary themes as well. Like the women have a specific like theme music to their segments, and the men have a specific one. And it's very strange, but you can tell if you ever watch the show. Whereas with AEW, it's like you have the secondary Dynamite theme, and then whatever opens the show, if they're doing like a montage cold open. They just haven't done it since the first week. And typically it's like, if it's a big event, which I guess Maximum Carnage should have had a special thing.
It's more funny to just think they played it once and then the feedback was so negative that they were like, ah, shit, we're not going to do this again.
But there's a part of me that's like, I think Tony being so online was just like, still talking about it, which is exactly why there's a 12-man tag that's going to air on Saturday night with people that got a lot of pushback too.
Yeah.
Still talking about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the opening contest, Kenny Omega makes his AEW return, beats Brian Cage. It was a good match. This was really funny to me because the venue that they ran was, yes, it was smaller in size compared to what they normally do, but the only pyro that they used was for Kenny. And I was like, you didn't feel rinky-dink at first. You didn't feel like a small venue at first. And then you did that pyro, and I was like, this feels a little less than. I liked the venue. I liked the presentation. I liked that the hard cam was like hidden underneath the Jumbotron, the Tonytron. That little things like that were great. I just don't understand why they had to give Kenny that pyro in that building. It just felt weird. The match was great. That's the thing. Like, I'm not going to nitpick the match because I thought a lot of it was really, really well done. Even Don Callis was good in his role. He was just being a little shithead. Kenny gets the win, gets the one-winged angel. They do a lot of my tummy hurts spots.
Yeah, I understand why they go to that. It's an easy spot to do. Kenny's good enough to where I don't think he will fully overdo it, because I know I didn't have this complaint. I thought Bryan Danielson was a master, but people got with the next stuff with Danielson of like, oh, they're just going to it too much. I don't want that complaint with Kenny. I think it's a good spot to do, and it gets the sympathy you want for Kenny Omega to make his babyface comeback. But I got a feeling people are just gonna be like, oh, they're going to this spot too much. Like, opponents should target this. Like, you know, it's a weakness. It should be a target. It should continue to be a target. And Kenny should protect it. And I hope as Kenny goes more to try to protect it, like that opens him up for other areas to be targeted. And then you tell a story that way. We'll see if they end up doing that, but it's good. Don't complain about them going to this too often. That's my whole point.
DDP rib tape is what you're getting at here, right?
He could do that.
But and it just says diverticulitis written on the front. That's it.
Punch here.
Yeah, don't hit me here. Hit me here. It's fine. But I agree with you, by the way. The idea is, you know, your opponent has a weakness. You take advantage of that weakness. Over time, Kenny should not necessarily like build a tolerance to it, because that's not what happens. But eventually it should get to the point where he kind of does callous a little bit and he's not as affected. But he's been out of the ring for long enough that, yeah, he should be selling this. This was a major career and life-threatening injury. He came back from it. That's a big deal. Some people who watch the Gabe Kidd match will also recognize that, like, they didn't do any of that. He wasn't selling like that. Whereas on the North American weekly episodic televised drama, like, he is, and that's what it's supposed to be. So, like, I give them points. The presentation being
like that. Gabe Kidd punched him right in the itis, man.
Yeah, but he wasn't selling it the same way as when Brian Cage does it.
It
was a different sell.
Okay.
It was a 45-minute sell versus a 13-minute sell. It's very different. You get it.
Definitely sold it.
He did a dive to took out people.
Fired up, brother.
He's running on that adrenaline. You trying to say that there's no adrenaline in AEW? Are you burying the product, Jeremy? Oh my God.
No, their adrenaline and their soul left years ago.
It's true. Poor Kenny. But yeah, as someone like Henry was saying, didn't people want Omega to be presented like a star? He can be presented like a star, and he is. I don't necessarily think that pyro, if this is what you're in reference to, I don't necessarily think that the pyro makes a star performance or makes a star entrance. So I'll use Cope as an example. Cope doing all that obnoxious pyro when he does the, look at me, I'm a rock and roll superstar. That's not as big as the entrance when he has all the smoke coming out. Becky did the same thing, right, in WWE. The idea there is like, it's a different presentation beyond the music and the theme, or the theme and the walkout. You don't always need the pyro, and I think this is just one time where it was like it felt rinky dink to me. If you liked it, great, go for it. I hope they do it. But Ryan saying pyro is based on personality, that's a good point. I just think that this was in a room where they didn't run pyro for really anyone else, didn't feel as impactful.
Do you think that's why Cope took so long to get to the ring? He was arguing backstage of like, wait a second, we don't have pyro for my big entrance. I can't just go out there normally. And meanwhile, the Death Riders are killing Powerhouse Hobbs and breaking his leg.
Yep.
Not that Hobbs is going to wrestle on Saturday after all of that. That's not a thing at all. You know.
No, it wasn't part of a whole long through line on Saturday's show for Thursday's taping. No, nothing. Okay. Yeah, so at the end of the Cage and Kenny match, you did have Will Ospreay come in and try to make the save once Fletcher and Takeshita came out to do the beatdown. And it feels like we're moving towards that. Next week on Dynamite, Will Ospreay just wants to talk, bruv. I just want to talk to Kenny Omega, bruv. So I feel like those two will get on the same page after the Don Callis family lays them both out again. Or maybe they get the upper hand as a team and they realize, maybe there's something to this. Let's work together.
Well, they got the upper hand as a team already, so I feel like that's going to be part of the discussion.
Did they? I think it was Ospreay on the first week made a save, and Kenny was reluctant to acknowledge it. And then this week, Ospreay made the save, but then got beat down.
I guess so. I thought the upper hand was the Ospreay last week, but sure. Yeah, they'll team and set up the Grand Slam match and everything, I guess.
If someone tells you that they just want to talk, you run. It's true.
I'm kind of agree to the different Big Man Dogs chat. Kenny just wins with a V-trigger in 6 minutes. Like, that's what they should have done.
Listen, honestly. There was another match on the card where we thought they should do a big squash and they did not. And that was the Hurt Business 6-man. That was, first of all, bless MVP. The man wanted to work half of that match and he did. And I thought he did a really good job given the fact that he's not a regular wrestler anymore, or at least hasn't been in years. I was happy to see MVP back. Thought it was really good. Crowd was into it. Hurt Business continues to look really friggin' good. Unfortunately, it comes at the disservice to your tag team champions and Mark Briscoe. But this was the match was fun, but like you and I talked about, it should have been more like a 70-30, and it became more of a 50-50.
They ain't gonna be tag team champions for long.
It certainly feels that way. Is that an Australia match, or is that a maybe that's an Australia match?
Maybe it's an Australia match. Maybe, yeah. I could see that
title change.
I could see that being an Australia match. You do a title change over there.
Sorry, I was gonna say if they don't do the tag titles there, they'll just do a Ring of Honor championship of some kind.
Maybe Private Party wins the first match, but based on their victory and how they've been treated since their victory, they ain't long for these titles, and they got a whole lot more stock in the Hurt Business. It feels weird to bring in Lashley, have him beat Swerve in the manner that he beat him, and then lose to Private Party. Like, especially the way they've treated Private Party after this. If they've like built up Private Party as, you know, kind of they put some more stock into them as champions, then that'd be one thing. But they haven't. They're beating Andretti and Leo, who can barely get on the shows at this point. They beat a tag team that split up, and another tag team that split up, and another tag team that just loses all the time. So they ain't beating anybody.
Someone asking, are we surprised the Young Bucks haven't been on TV with the IWGP tag titles? I mean, listen, Fightful Select reported that they were supposed to be in the building at Collision last night. They were not featured on screen. They were not part of an angle. Doesn't mean they didn't film something. So who knows?
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
That's what you do. You put the Young Bucks in an IWGP World Tag Team title match in Australia against TMDK or something. Shane Haste gets his IWGP Tag Team title back.
You're beating a bunch of Australians in this case.
No. Shane Haste gets the win. New tag team champions. New Japan doesn't know about it. It's fine. Rocky just like gets a call in the middle of the night. They did what?
I think Rocky would be fine if the New Japan team just holds the titles. Whatever.
It'd be fine. It was the stuff with her and Syndicate is very strange.
Is it?
Also, yeah, just because like not the fact that they're dominant, not the fact that they're dominating. It's just like you mentioned, Lashley beat Swerve, and then it got kind of pivoted away from, and we don't know what creative changed because, you know, according to Sean, it was supposed to continue, or stuff was supposed to keep going, and then something changed. We don't know what, but they pivoted to whatever this is. I'm happier seeing Shelton and Lashley go for a tag team title, or go not just for singles gold. Like I like they basically established Shelton right away as a guy you want to keep watching, and Lashley becomes the feature guy, and then MVP is the mouthpiece. Like it's a very well put together group. It's just the way their creative has kind of mishmashed over the last little bit. It's made them more interesting in like the weirdest backstage way.
Remember when MVP was passing out business cards?
He's taken a lot of them back, remember?
True. You think somebody would have like taken up on that offer? Oh, like, yeah, man, they seem to do pretty well for themselves. Maybe I should get in on this.
There's still one more business card out there, and she's got 4 belts on her.
Oh,
that would be very funny.
Probably not gonna happen.
Probably not, but I think it'd be very funny if they at least have like some sort of crossing each other on the aisle or something where like she says thanks, but another time, and like just acknowledge it. Like you have the card and just be like thanks, but no thanks, but in like the most CEO way, and just move along from it. What did you think of the Mercedes pre-tape promo that they did? It was different.
I don't think I watched this, so I apologize. I may have skipped right through it.
It was effectively her being like, this was a day with the CEO where she's like, I'm doing press and I get ready and I look pretty, or like I look flawless. And then that's Michelle McCool, sorry. And then I go to the gym and I train, and it was a day in the life, but it was lavish, but real. And it was different. It was a character presentation. And I like that. I want them to keep doing that with more characters. Over in TNA land, they did something with Ace Austin last night that was also really well done as like a character piece of him beyond just Chris Bay and his working with Chris Bay. They got a lot of character developments out of Ace Austin, and I think the Mercedes thing, as short as it was a pretty good segment. Like they made her look real while still being her full of herself CEO character. It was nice.
It sounds like something that I would probably enjoy compared to the same promo where she just says, say hello to your CEO and money changes everything. And that's kind of that.
I think that's why I liked it, because it was exactly that. It was not the same champagne celebration, say hello to your CEO thing. It was just different. I think she's good. I think she's good in like the pre-tape stuff too. Not to say she's bad on the mic or anything. Like I think she's fine on the mic, and when she has like decent material to work with, she can elevate a little bit. But I think the pre-tape stuff probably works better for this character, and especially if you're not setting anything up, which they're not right now, then I think this stuff works. Yeah, exactly. 10 Resistance a super chat saying, give us more Batista Pyro. That was always insane. Well, Batista Pyro, you didn't get Batista Pyro. You got Batista-esque, what's the word? Posing? You had Willow do the thing.
She did. That ruled.
Yeah, that was really fun. I was trying to segue into the women's Casino Gauntlet match. Now, much conversation about how that match went and what was or wasn't there. I will start by saying hashtag Joel was right. We did the over under, and I was very, very under on this. You were over. You said there would be more than 12. I think you said there'd be more than 12 people.
Oh.
And I was vastly under.
Okay. All right.
So hashtag Joel was right. Unfortunately, in this case, I was right. I was hoping for more.
Too short.
Yes, it was. And I think part of the conversation is, did the thumbnail affect the length of the match, or what happened there? I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. But let's still, hey, shut up, pile driver finisher. But hey, we'll still talk about this gauntlet match. Megan Bayne made her reappearance in AEW. She came back Dynamite first time on that show, and she looked like $1 million. And I love Mariah May selling it as like, oh, who she can kick my ass. It was very, very well done stuff. She looked good. I hope people understand that Megan Bayne also is like next in line to challenge for the GCW World Championship. People don't know. They don't. It's fine. It's just, that was my first little giggle about it.
Yeah, Megan's got a GCW title shot coming her way. She's on the Hammerstein show. Shout out to the GCW social media team who, like, right when she debuted, they posted, hey, see more of Megan Bayne against Atticus Cogar at GCW Hammerstein. Like, yeah, good marketing. Yeah, that's going to be a completely different match than her appearance in this Casino Gauntlet, by the way. Her and Atticus Cogar are going to, somebody's going to bleed on that one. So yeah,
remember the education about gusset plates? Use it for Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, it was fine. Like, I think they worked hard. It was just short, like, for comparison's sake. And I know this isn't fully apples to apples here, but like the last Casino Gauntlet, the men's, which was just a few weeks ago, the Powerhouse Hobbs one, that was 26 minutes. This was half of that. This was 13 minutes. Oh, it was short, and it felt like there could have been more people in it. Like, everyone worked hard. Everyone looked relatively good. Toni Storm winning was not really a surprise. She won by roll up. Also not really a surprise. Pinning Julia Hart was a surprise. Harley Cameron did not take the loss. Guess what happens on Saturday between Julia Hart and Harley Cameron in a singles match? But wasn't too many. I guess Megan Bayne was a surprise, her being there and being part of this match. But the finish wasn't really a big surprise. It was just short. Like, I wanted more for them. And it wasn't the crossover spot. It was the 9:30 spot where they told you this is the women's spot. So, like, it didn't feel like it was a bigger than normal women's match, honestly. And I thought they had an opportunity to do that by putting it at the crossover spot, but they did what they did with it. And the winner was, I think, correct to set up the match with Mariah May. I thought Mariah May was good on commentary. The reaction to Megan Bayne, even the reaction to Tony is like, oh, this should be so fun, like wrestling her for the first time. Like, she is selling that. I like that Mariah May is like selling that this is some rookie, and I assume they'll have some face-to-face at some point before Grand Slam to sell that. It was fine.
When was the first Casino Gauntlet? Was that May?
Go back and look at Will Ospreay's cage match, because he won the first one, I'm pretty sure.
That's actually a really good shout. Let's take a look.
I'll tell you.
I'm specifically asking because you mentioned, the one last week went 20 plus minutes, 25 minutes. How long was the first one?
The first one was 18. That was Dynamite. But look at this cast of characters in this match. Like, no knock on any of these competitors here, but man, they told you who was winning this thing without telling you who was winning this thing. Will Ospreay, Dante Martin, Jay Lethal, Jay White, Commander, Kyle O'Reilly, Lance Archer, and WWE superstar Penta. There were about 2 possible winners in that thing, and one of them won. Ospreay, and look, Jay White was kind of cold. This was April 2024. Jay White wasn't lighting the world on fire April 2024. So they were telling you Will Ospreay was winning this thing. There just wasn't a whole lot of viable contenders in this match, and it went 18 minutes.
So my point in all this is that the first one is usually a little bit shorter because it's a maiden voyage. And in this case, like, I get it. They've run it before with the men, and they've even done a tag team one. The women's one could have been longer. Again, multiple things at play, both television time and maybe stuff got cut because 2 people decided to talk about women in the wrong way for an extra 10, 15 minutes before this. That being said, it also builds hope that the next time they do this gauntlet, you get a little bit more out of it. So I don't know if this was, I don't think it was a failure. A letdown is a pretty good way to think of it. A lot of people had feelings about people who weren't in the match. I know that Deonna Purrazzo is one of those people that have been shouted out as should have been at least in the match. And I agree because I like Deanna and also because I know she's very good at this, but she hasn't been prominently featured on AEW as like a winning talent or a winning presented star. She's just been there with Taya, and you'll see her on Ring of Honor soon enough. But the point is, if this is the maiden voyage for the Women's Casino Gauntlet, was a good start. They definitely have things to improve upon. And when they bring it to inevitably a pay-per-view, it will get more time and hopefully have a better reaction from most fans. So with that in mind, Toni Storm wins. They do the play up. It's going to be Mariah May is like, oh, I'm looking forward to facing her. And I'm sure they'll do the face-to-face and it'll be a lot of fun. I am just curious about the finish to that match when Julia Hart was it Harley Cameron?
Yeah, Harley Cameron.
Yeah. And then instead of going for the pin, there was a whole mismatch. It was like someone who should have gone for the pin rolled out of the way and then got pinned. Julia Hart got pinned, right?
Yeah, Julia Hart got pinned.
Yeah, even
Tony
though
rolled her up.
Yeah, instead of rolling up Harley Cameron, who had just gotten misted.
Well, Julia Hart was like trying to go after Harley Cameron, and then Toni Storm came in and snuck up and rolled up Julia Hart. It made sense. I don't see the issue with it, because if she rolls up Harley Cameron, Julia Hart breaks up the pin. So she rolled up Julia Hart. Harley Cameron could not see to break up the pin because she had been blinded by the miss. Now the finish made sense.
Okay, that's fine. No,
it looked a little wonky because as Toni Storm was rolling up Julia Hart, like Harley Cameron literally kind of like sidestepped out of the way. That's where it looked a little bit weird, but like the idea was there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Other people had surmised that like Toni Storm is a white meat babyface, so she didn't want to take advantage of the person who had just been illegally messed with.
Like
I was like, that's a pretty good theory. But no, yours actually makes a lot more sense. But like you said, it was the awkwardness of Harley trying to roll the opposite direction while a pinfall was going on. It was just that part felt weird. So I happily drop the idea because I think now it makes sense. Tenriz is saying Bane is her great live show presence, push her. If she is under AEW contract and she is ready and willing and available and they're ready, willing and available to put her to work, I absolutely agree. People have been wondering what's going on with her for the longest time. She's had a great GCW experience. She's had a lot of work there. And if she's going to move over to AEW full time, great. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with.
She's going to beat Athena, is what she's going to do.
I mean, maybe. Yeah. I'm not mad at that. Like,
what if she beats Mercedes?
I'm not mad at that either. Like, there's stuff you can do with Megan Bayne. There's a lot of stuff you can do with Megan Bayne. Just depends on what they decide they have in store for her.
Speed Punk says the venue on Wednesday and Thursday also reminded me of the old TNA Impact Zone at Universal Studios back in the day. We don't talk about that zone. That zone is cursed. It was good though. It was nice. It's a theater. Like you can almost never go wrong with a theater for wrestling. Like Center Stage in Atlanta is another one that's really interesting because of the way that it's shaped in that kind of the circular. But if you ever look around the venue, there are like stairs that go down to passageways to get in and out of the venue. It's such a weird thing where like wrestlers will take bumps out on the floor and then all of a sudden they've gone down a stairwell that was in the corner of where the ring was because of how the setup works. But other than that, like, yeah, the Bradley Center was really good for AEW. I'm glad that they ran it. Shall we talk about it?
Adam Copeland taking 5 years to save Powerhouse Hobbs. This annoyed me so much. Probably because I'm just a hater of Cope. Sorry, everybody.
Main event
annoyed me.
When it started, when it did, I was like, all right, this is just we're gonna have a match. It'll be a bit of a sprint. Powerhouse Hobbs versus Moxley for the AEW World Title. Everyone gets involved. Who's on the Death Rider side? Eventually, Powerhouse Hobbs gets tapped out, whatever you want to call it, referee's decision, and Moxley retains. But then they're doing the beatdown. They're going to shatter Hobbs's leg, and where are the tag team partners for Saturday night? Where is he? Where are they? Where'd they go? And then they eventually come out. So that was a very interesting way of putting it together.
This is just dumb baby faces. why weren't these dudes coming out when like Yuta ran out? You see Yuta run out. Why aren't you coming out at this point? And then, Moxley wins. They tried to make Hobbs look strong by kicking out of a bunch of stuff. And that was good. And then it was Hobbs passed out. Like, that was fine. But then they do the post-match beatdown, and it goes on. It felt like this beatdown was like 10 minutes long. I know it wasn't. It just felt so long. And then when they grabbed the chair to go across his knee, it's like, okay, finally here comes Cope. Here comes Cope and FTR. Nope. It waited until after they stomped on his leg, and then they come out. And then they're like, you dastardly jerks. I can't believe you've done this.
I figured it out. I know why they did it. It's because Cope wanted to make sure that Powerhouse Hobbs showed his grit. Because remember when Cope, he was not only all about grit, but he comes out, he cut that scathing promo where he's like, I broke my neck in 2002. And you know what I did? I wrestled for 20 more minutes. I jumped off a cage against new WWE superstar Aleister Black returning to the company at the Royal Rumble. I jumped off a cage, broke my foot. You know what I did? I went back to work because I have grit. Powerhouse Hobbs, you don't have grit. So we decided to test your grit by letting Moxley and his boys beat the shit out of your leg. Do you have grit? We'll find out tonight on AEW Collision live on TNT.
None of that's true, but
none of it is true.
You know what? I'm not mad at this explanation. It sucks, but I'm not mad at it.
Cope's a bad guy. Cope is a heel. Remember the match that he had with Big Bill? He kicked him in the dick. Big Bill was the babyface. Yeah. Cope was the heel.
I mean, Hobbs, even though he just got his leg destroyed, it seems like he's just going to wrestle on Saturday. So I thought they were going to do that as like a way to take him out of the match. And sorry, spoiler alert, doesn't look like he's out of the match. So like that makes it an ineffective beatdown because he's just going to wrestle on Saturday, despite the fact that it was like a pillmanizing of his leg. And that used to be kind of a big deal. It should be a big deal too. I mean, they did it to Danielson. Danielson's been out forever. They did it to Chuck Taylor. He's been out forever. They do it to the leg of Powerhouse Hobbs, the injured leg. It's just like, oh, he's going to wrestle on Saturday. Like it makes the beatdown feel ineffective. And then your dumb friends take forever to save you. So that's ineffective. This whole thing sucked. It sucked.
I'm sorry. We were in the back having another shot of tequila. Here we are now.
I don't like any of
this. The axe.
I don't like any of this.
Love wrestling. Come run a show in Ontario and you can do more than just verbally reprimand me. Will Chisholm sent a super chat, said it felt like 3012 Cena. That's a futuristic Cena. Hell My God. He would come out after the babyface got murked.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The match was good. I don't have any complaints about like the ring, like the story and the job that Hobbs and Moxley did. I thought they did a good job. But everything after was just so ineffective and dumb.
Yeah, it just kind of existed on its own and didn't need to. Someone missed a cue. That's the only thing I can think of. Someone had to have missed his cue.
I don't think anybody missed a cue, though. Like, I don't think anybody missed a cue. I think this is how they set it up.
Should have set it up.
I did notice this, Big Man Dogs, by the way. Like, Cope and Mox do YouTube numbers. Like, bless. Maybe that's why they're rolling with it. But
that's why it is. Because you know what? Because it's almost as if social media numbers can target how you promote a show, Jeremy Lambert.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone knows the Cope stuff isn't for me. I would not have him in the title picture in this way. It's just my personal belief. I'm not going to argue and say like it's not like working for a section of the audience, but I am going to call out when baby faces look stupid and don't save their friends, and when a guy gets his leg pillmanized and then still wrestles 2 days later, 3 days later. Like that's dumb to me. It's dumb. If it's working, all right, America's dumb.
Well, that's true. Do you think Cope can go 10 minutes in the ring? I have an idea. Do you think he could do 10 minutes?
What, are you gonna do a proving ground match against Chris Jericho?
No, we'll do a proving ground match against Commander. That'll get him a
That's-
guaranteed TV title shot. He just has to go 10 minutes.
Okay.
Rated FTR are bad friends. That is true on multiple levels. It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
I'll run a show if you can be our guest commissioner. I would love that. Love wrestling. I will be your guest commissioner.
I want to do that. I want to be on commentary and just hate on everything, but that might suck. Actually, I don't want to do that. I want to put stuff over, but I'll be a commissioner and just like hate on stuff, and then I can get my comeuppance at the end of the night.
Do I have to put on the Santino Marella voice since I will be a commissioner?
That sounds terrible.
Yes, it is terrible. I have to watch that.
Oh, okay. Don't do that.
Maybe that's why I liked TNA last night, because there was no Santino on the show.
Anyway, moving on.
Do we have to? All right.
Well, Samoa Joe's back.
Mimosa Joe came back. Good for him. I liked seeing that. And you know what? So okay, here tying back the Powerhouse Hobbs stuff. That's what I would have done. You take him out of the match, and you know who you replace him with? Mimosa Joe, because he's got a problem with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho took him out initially. You could have easily run that and then have Joe just be like, I'm here because I want to beat up one guy. And maybe that gets the win. Maybe that has no consequence, whatever. They sell the Hobbs injury. Easy as pie. They could have done it like that. They're not doing that. Spoiler alert. But Joe is back, and he is still coming back to the guys that he was with before that had high praise. It just felt like we could have done something about who took him out. So it's good to see him back.
I don't think they wanted Joe to come back on a taped show. Sorry. Which makes sense. I understand that. Him just being with Hook and Shibata again, and I guess feuding with the patriarchy. I love Samoa Joe. I think it could be fun. They were together a good chunk of last year, and like the learning tree stuff was what it was. I don't know if they're going to go back to that, because Jericho technically did take him out for 6-7 months. Feuding with Christian, the trios champions don't really exist. Those aren't a thing. I don't know if the trios division truly exists.
We don't know if the belts still exist. They could have been melted down to make that briefcase.
Yeah. It's got to elevate. It's got to lead somewhere. That's my issue right now. Is it felt like Joe, after losing the title last year, and I know he was out for a good chunk of the year. I'm not saying otherwise, but it was more Hook. Hook felt so stagnant last year after the Joe match, and it felt like he was gonna be elevated after that match, and he was hot in that match, and a lot of people were behind him after that. And then he just did the Jericho thing. And then he did the Christian thing for like 20 years. And now he's still doing the Christian thing. And now it's just Joe's in there. And are they just going to do basically Jericho, Hook, and Shibata against Christian, Nick Wayne, and Kip Sabian? The same basic principle we saw with Joe, Hook, and Shibata against Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian Keith? Is that what we're going to do? I hope we get more out of that. Like, I hope we get more, because that would be a year of nearly nothing for these guys.
I'm just happy Mimosa Joe is back. I'm happy to see him. Joe. Love him. Love the work that he does. Again, I really enjoyed the backstage promos that they did with Hook, Shibata, and Joe. I just need them to pick up where they left off with other stories and not continue this Christian daddy feud. It's just it's done. It should be done. Hook tapped him out. Hook choked him out. Christian is done.
It was a DQ finish.
It should have been it, though. Like not the DQ finish. I mean, Christian being out, that should have been it.
Well, it's not. Like, Joe's back, and now they're probably going to do a trios match. And okay, fine, you can do that. But someone needs to get elevated out of this. That's all. And if it's Samoa Joe, awesome. I hope it is Samoa Joe. He brings a level of urgency to everything he is in, for the most part. The Jericho stuff got tiring after a while. And I don't want the same thing here. Ryan Sullivan, I did notice that, and I thought the same thing.
Yes.
I want to push that conspiracy theory that that Hook did not get the Action Bronson theme because Action Bronson was on Ariel's show and talking about the weird backstage vibes at AEW and how they never called him back and how he wants to go wrestle for WWE.
Whoops. Well, I guess Action Bronson wasn't in the right clique. Ten Rizzo said Joe and Christian contract. Joe gets Christian's contract. Joe beats Mox. I don't think that contract's ever going to be put on the line. I think it's going to exist, and Christian's going to be the chicken shit heel who holds on to it until it's time.
It's a dumb move. It's a dumb move to put the contract on the line. I don't like when they do it when the Money in the Bank briefcase holder does it. And I know
New Japan does it too with the G1 winner sometimes.
The G1 thing makes I'm a little more forgiving of that because typically they face the guy that like beat them in the G1 tournament. And so it's like, all right, well, I want my win back here. And the person who beat him is like, well, I need something in return. I already beat you once. I can beat you again. Put your shot on the line. I'll prove that I'm better than you. I'll prove that I should have won the G1 and been in your position. So I'm a little more forgiving of that. It's still kind of dumb, but they at least make it make a little bit sense. If it's just like you're a heel or a babyface, whoever it might be, it's just like goaded into, hey, put this on the line. Like I just think that's stupid. I just think it's dumb.
Yeah, I get it. Let's move on. We gotta talk about we gotta talk about it. All he had to do, there it is. All he had to do, I swear to God, was come out and start singing With My Baby Tonight. And this whole thing would have been completely moot and we wouldn't be talking about it. And the world, the internet world wouldn't be discussing the promo that came from it. I'm talking about Max, by the way, being the one to come out and sing With My Baby Tonight. That would have been hilarious because he is the singer. Instead, your wife's a whore. Your girlfriend's a whore. This crowd are a bunch of whores. Everyone's a whore. Not MJF, though. Not Jeff Jarrett. Everybody else. Big Man Doc says he loved the segment. It was so stupid. There was part of it where I was like, God, this is dumb and funny. But then when they started talking about the women, any women in the ways that they did, I was like, man, this got real stupid to the point where no one could stop them and be like, maybe reconsider this. Maybe reconsider the content, especially knowing that like AEW has a very large and pretty vocal female fan base. That alone would have been like, we shouldn't be doing this. But they went with it and was not good. And it was long.
Yeah.
Much too long.
Let me praise this segment for a second.
Was it the end of it? Was it when they went to black?
I'm going to praise the fact that when MJF said, I headlined the biggest show ever, the biggest gate ever, the ratings were great. When I was on top, everything was top tier. We were making a bunch of money. Fans were tuning in, blah, 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 blah. When he said that, I fully expected him to go, and then it all went to shit. And look at the state of the company now. Thank you for at least not doing that. Thank you for not burying the company in that way. Because he's done it before. That was a kind of a crux of the Ospreay feud. And when he, in the middle of the Roderick Strong match, he's like, this shithole company. Look what happened while I was making movies. So he could have very easily, Jeff Jarrett could have done that as well. They could have very easily done, look what happened. You ran the place into the ground with your title reign. And afterwards, now we're still trying to recover from everything. At least they didn't do that again, because they have done it before. They did, as Chi-Town's first points out, the line about Jeff Jarrett saying, this is the last thing you see before your company dies. And it's like, well, this is his last year, and they're promoting his last year a whole lot. So is this the last year of the company? Not a great line. There were no great lines in this. None of this worked for me. I don't know who this was supposed to be for. I I just don't know. I'm not going to try to pretend like I understand what the motivation was here. They seemingly wanted to do the personal thing because that's what MJF does in literally every single feud. And I've talked about the MJF promos before. You know what you're getting out of these MJF promos. You just do. Whatever personal thing he can do, he's going to say it. And when you do it literally every single time, it starts to lose luster. And when you've been doing it for 5 years, it doesn't work for me, brother. And when the baby face is firing back, your mother's a whore. Your girlfriend was getting a train ran on her for an hour while you were wrestling Will Ospreay. That's not great babyface material for me. Like, none of this worked. I got no interest in seeing them fight. That's typically the goal of these promos, right? You want to see these people fight. You want to see these people, settle their differences in the ring, in a wrestling match. You want to see the bad guy get punched in the face. You want to see the good guy overcome and conquer. This was not it for me. I got no interest in them fighting. I don't want to see them on TV at all. I unironically kind of like Jeff Jarrett. And I kind of think there is a spot for him. And I think there is a spot for his last run. I do. This isn't it. This is not the way to do it.
We made the reference earlier about Tony Storm doing the roll up on Julia Hart because maybe in kayfabe she is a white meat baby face, didn't want to take advantage of Harley Cameron, who had just been misted in the face. So she took out the woman who actually did it, and white meat babyface is going to white meat babyface, gets the win. What if Jeff Jarrett was trying to outdo MJF in the classless department to prove a point? He didn't call the women whores. He would call them call girls, which is a very 1970s way of
he
saying
said it. Alicia Atout was
getting a train run on her. I get it. I know. I'm trying to put another spin on it. I'm trying to maybe this was him reluctantly trying to out MF Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I don't know. But it wasn't good. I'm trying to put something out there that would have been like, maybe this was their thought, and it's like, like Jeff Jarrett's like, your girl's a hoe, respectfully. I don't know, because it just I'm trying to put something in there to make it have made any sense as to what their thought process was, but clearly this wasn't it.
Here's the thing. They had material. The whole MJF is a coward thing. You didn't enter the Casino Gauntlet because you're scared. You're worried about your spot. That's fine. That's good material right there. You can roll with that. Jeff Jarrett saying, oh, I was just like you. You just take the low-hanging fruits and everything. Like, I was doing all of this before you ever were. I was like, was Jeff Jarrett doing this? Maybe he was.
He took a guitar to Beetlejuice's head.
Yeah, but that's just...
They're going to be tag team champions. I swear to God. MJF is going to happen. Better than you. Ain't I better than you?
That sounds terrible. They had material here. And I don't know what got lost in the shuffle, what got lost in translation, if they forgot the material or they just completely lost the point on this. It wasn't good. And the Owen Hart stuff was, I assume, I don't know for certain, I assume this was cleared by Martha. Obviously, I assume Jeff Jarrett was okay with it to do this. It's not necessary. It's just not. When you you pay tribute to Owen Hart every year with the Owen Hart Foundational Tournament, and you put Owen on a pedestal and highlight the good of his career and highlight the impact he made of his career. To do this, we all hated it. We all hated it when Randy Orton did it with Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio. This is no different. except that we have way more years of learning history to tell us this shit doesn't work and we should all be above this.
What's even more atrocious to me now thinking about it is you just brought in a third person that would have had to have been asked, hey, is it cool if we do this? Because originally it was like, what did Karen think? What did Alicia think? Now you're like, what does Dr. Martha Hart think? That's 3 different women for different reasons, but 2 the same, 1 different. That you have to consult on this. And allegedly, presumably, because it ran, none of them said like, maybe not. Let's not. They all said it. It's at that point, if you got to ask 3 different people, is this cool? Maybe something's off on that promo. Very strange decision. Very strange decision. Jeff Jarrett does have a place in this story. He does have a place. There was a super chat we got from Chi-Town Spurs saying they took the meme Jeff reaction. Sorry, the meme reaction, Jeff got it all in and thought it was a real reaction to people wanting him to get a push, and it's so dumb. So meme reaction, fair. That's true. It was, but there was also half-heartedness to it. There's multiple things at play. Jeff wants to have his send-off. He's got more years behind him than he does ahead of him. That's understandable. He's also a very good talker. So Tony can be very easily persuaded given circumstances. So he probably went to Tony and was just like, I got an idea. You can put me for one year on and off. Let me have the last year of my career. And then I can do whatever you need me to do in the back, boss. And I'll be great. Dude. Sorry, he's not the dude. But point is, Jeff Jarrett has his place given his experience and given the things that he's done behind the scenes and in front of the camera. Best wrestler ever? No, but deserving of an opportunity to show that he still goes and that he still has that final year run in him. There is story. There is history there. Does it need to be the main event every week? No. Does it need to be on TV every week? Absolutely not. This will eventually die down, I think, after Revolution for a little bit, kind of go dormant. I think maybe MJF and Double J will be a tag team. I'm just saying. But this promo was not it. And I hope that whoever gets the feedback brings it to their attention. People know I don't trust Max when it comes to feedback. He's never once taken the feedback he's been given on a promo and fixed accordingly. We had a whole thing about the quarters. That's a totally separate conversation, but again, nothing changed there other than Max being like, I promise it's leading to something. Something's going to change. Nothing changed, nothing fixed. But the point of this is Jeff is there because he's got something to give. I just don't know what the hell this promo was set to accomplish other than stupid.
There's a spot for Jeff Jarrett. There is. Doing a last run retirement thing is the easiest thing in the world. AEW did it twice last year. They did it with Sting. They did it with Danielson. WWE's doing it now with John Cena. AEW's doing it now with Jeff Jarrett. Every company tries to milk that last run type of thing when they, have the opportunity to do so. New Japan's going to do it with Tanahashi. Like, there's a spot for this stuff. It doesn't always have to be like top of the card stuff with Sting and with Danielson. It could be sort of a lower level type of run with this. I think an MJF feud is fine. It's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with a Jeff Jarrett and MJF feud. It gets MJF away for the time being from the title picture, where I know he said he wants to get the belt back and everything. But it gets him away from that title picture to focus on a guy who has also said, hey, I want to go after the title. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to prove myself by going into the Casino Gauntlet, by winning my way into this title shot. MJF, not the way. MJF, as Jeff Jarrett pointed out, you're being a coward. You're being scared. You're being lazy. The feud is fine. I don't have an issue with the feud. The material sucked. The stuff they presented on television sucked. And there's not really a place for it in 2025 professional wrestling on national television to do this kind of thing. If this is your best material, you got to go back to the lab. Write some new shit. Here's a pencil. Make it suspenseful. You got to get back to the lab on this stuff. because this wasn't working.
Unfortunately, next week the lab is going to be a kitchen where Maxwell Jacob Freeman is going to teach you how to make chicken salad. That was the other thing that I really didn't like, was bringing up anyone's sobriety for heat in a promo. I'm over that stuff. I don't think that's needed either in 2025. When they do it with Moxley, I think it's dumb. When they do it with Double J, I think it's dumb. Like, these are real life situations, and I'm sure again the wrestlers are asked, "Hey, can I do it?" And they're like, "Yeah, it'll be good heat." But like, you don't need to get into that. I don't think it's worthwhile. But that's a me thing more than anything. Other people are going to be like, "That's fine." If you trust your partner enough that you can go there. We talked about this with Seth Rollins and CM Punk, where they make, there was the point about, I had a baby, you don't. And people were like, "Ooh, why are you talking about his fatherhood?" You got to assume that there was some modicum of conversation had between the two people in the ring giving their thoughts. Some people are saying they don't mind. That's fine. For me, I'm just like, can we stop harping on people's sobriety? It's just, for some people, it's a very important thing. So
I think it works if you make it work, and they didn't make it work at all. Jeff Jarrett could have been an inspiration to this, like Jeff Jarrett could have said, "Yeah, I did have these demons. I did struggle with this. You know what I did? I worked hard. I overcame all of this. Wrestling helped me with that. I got in the ring. I put my working boots on. I did this. I did that." I'm not Sting. I know he's the man who does this, man who does that. And then you could have tied it back to MJF being like, "Unlike you are lazy. You expect everything to be handed to you. You just expect the world to crumble for you because you are a generational talent. And you just think the AEW World title is going to be handed over to you. You never worked a day in your life." Meanwhile, yeah, I had to overcome these demons. I had to overcome family issues, alcohol issues, losing friends. I know they started fighting after Owen Hart. You don't even have to mention Owen in that. Just losing friends. Jeff Jarrett's been in the business long enough. That could be a reference to 50 different people, sadly. I had to overcome all of this. What have you had to overcome, Max? There's material there. I came up with all this off the top of my head just talking about this right now. These two guys couldn't spend 5 minutes figuring out better material than your mother's a whore, your wife's a whore, your girlfriend's a whore, your best friend is dead. Buy the pay-per-view.
And at AEW Revolution, in a whore lumberjack match, a lumber whore match, a whorejack match, MJF versus Double J. It'll just be a bunch of women around the ring with whips and chains. And Cyclops Better Than Wolverine says promo turned into an incel off for some odd reason. That's one way of putting it. And Will Chisholm said, TK said Penta got 15 minutes while MJF and Double J get 17 minutes and half of it will be slut shaming women. Really lazy. That's one way to look at it. If you're going to go across the bow, I get it. But yeah, it was not the content was not the case. Again, there's a reason for MJF and Double J, but that promo and that history or lack thereof was not it. Otherwise, again, Dynamite was actually pretty good in a lot of ways. There were a lot of positives to it. There's just a few things where, again, it was so polarizing. Some things were so good, and some things were just not. The lumber call girl match. It's the lumber horse. Sorry. I'm done. It's a serious thing. You really shouldn't be doing that on the air. It's really stupid. Not me, the calling the women like that. It's stupid. Is there anything else from Dynamite that you wanted to bring up? Because I think we did a pretty good job going through the good stuff and the not so good stuff.
I don't think so. It was maximum carnage in the best and the worst ways.
Maximum carnage. Big shout out to Ryan Lambert for that because it ruled. We got a super chat earlier from Ryan Adams. Now's the time. It's not off topic now because I pick when the topics come up. Ryan says, with the Royal Rumble in Indianapolis, what are the chances that Pat McAfee enters the Rumble, Corey Graves eliminates him if Graves does return to wrestle full time? I mean, it's an idea. You and I, Jeremy, gave our thoughts on Wednesday about the Corey Graves situation and the idea of announcers going into business, going into any feuds. The one thing that nice about this is, Pat McAfee, Indianapolis, the Rumble. I think I turned something into. I don't know. Does it become something? Do we not do anything? Is it a work? Is it a shoot? Depends who you ask. It's not a work, by the way.
Now, I said what I needed to say on Graves and McAfee. I don't have interest in a match or a real feud between them. I just don't feel like it serves a whole lot. And yeah, if they decide to turn it into a work, then all right. McAfee's gonna miss Raw on Monday. He's calling the national title game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. Wonder who they're gonna call to fill in that spot.
You already know who they called. He wears a 20-gallon cowboy hat. He's done it before for years.
Oh, you think that's going to be his role?
Yeah. I don't think Jables is actually doing anything TNA related. I just think he's going to be on the desk with Michael Cole for 2.5 hours.
I didn't even put that together because one, I forgot about JBL being on the show on Monday. So that's why I really didn't put that together. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense now.
Okay. I sure as shit haven't forgotten because I get to watch him for the next 2 nights. Ah!
All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, JBL is probably going to do the commentary, and then we're all going to sit there and be like, "Where's Nick Nemeth? Where's Joe Hendry? I thought this was a crossover." So let's talk about TNA WWE. They renewed their partnership. I think what a lot of people need to immediately remember is that the partnership is with NXT. It is not we're going to be on Raw, SmackDown every week. This is a talent exchange continued. Now it's just officially official. Before it was maybe a pilot project, but now it's pen to paper.
So it does. The press release does say, I'll get it correct. So I don't want to misinterpret anything or misspeak on what it says. The TNA website takes forever to load. Sorry,
really?
TNA.
It goes fast for me.
It's going now. Yesterday, I guess they had a lot of traffic. So it does say the agreement will enable talent to garner additional exposure across key WWE and TNA programming, including weekly flagship shows such as NXT, which airs live on the CW, and TNA Impact, select WWE premium live events, and TNA pay-per-views, in turn, bolstering their in-ring development with exposure to world-class talent and coaching. So the select WWE premium live events, you can interpret as, that's basically the WWE NXT premium live events. I do think Rumble obviously being the biggest one, that's where you're going to see some TNA talent. And I wouldn't be totally surprised if maybe they, right now they love running 5-match shows. So maybe there isn't a whole lot of space for them. But if maybe there's a TNA talent on a WWE show, like a PLE down the line, I don't know what that PLE would be. I don't know who that talent would be and who they would face, but it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility.
Jordan Grace is out here saying WrestleMania will have an Ultimate X match. Not this year, obviously. She says, bookmark this. There will be an Ultimate X match at WrestleMania. Wishful thinking. I saw a lot of talent make a lot of comments about this whole partnership that's now official. Like you said, the PLEs, the WWE mention of PLEs, they now brand NXT PLEs as WWE. Yep. So ever since Halloween Havoc, it's been WWE Halloween Havoc, not NXT Halloween Havoc. It's been WWE Deadline, not NXT Deadline. That's just their approach now to marketing these PLEs. It's everything PLE related is under the WWE umbrella, not NXT specifically. I don't know if anything really changes from what this started up as. It's always been, to me, WWE selects certain talent that they think would cross over well to their brand, or that they would maybe be getting a free look at them while they're under someone else's contract. And in exchange, TNA is getting the rub from NXT via the newer talent. Again, and this is why the look on your face is like, yeah, everyone's gonna laugh at this, and I understand. They're getting to use NXT talent, but the talent that they're getting are the ones who are hanging out in the locker room every week and not featured on the program. And also they're giving them reps in a different space that's not the PC. Good and bad. It's definitely more beneficial for WWE in a lot of ways, but like TNA is where they are. And I think that we spend a lot of time, myself included, making fun of TNA because 20 plus years and made the cockroach references, hard to kill, never going to die, all that stuff, signing Tessa Blanchard back to the company. And we'll talk about how that all relates to this ridiculousness. They continue to bring in bigger houses. They continue to grow and they continue to find ways to make their product viable and feasible from a business standpoint. They're doing a lot of things right from a money perspective. So I give them that. This is a good deal for them to make. They're never going to be number 2. They're never going to be there. They'll be a distant 3rd. And this is just good for them. This is another opportunity for them to just have different wrestlers on their show, which again, TNA tapes. They work twice a month. Now that they're going to do this live show every once in a while, sure, why not? But like, for all intents and purposes, TNA is a twice a month commitment for these wrestlers. And the rest of the time, they are doing their own thing, whether that's a day job or they're running the indies or whatever. They have other gigs. So for them, it is what it is. I don't expect a lot out of it.
Well, I honestly think it's fair because we haven't seen from the NXT side. The press release is hilarious.
Just like take a balance and just watch it go this way.
Former TNA Knockouts world champion Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry frequently appeared on NXT programming, highlighted by an NXT Championship match featuring Hendry and Ethan Page at No Mercy, an NXT Women's Championship match featuring Grace and Roxanne Perez at Battleground. Many NXT superstars also crossed the line into TNA wrestling, including Wes Lee's short-lived reunion with the Rascals, Charlie Dempsey and No Quarter Catch Crew, Riley Osborne, Dante Chen, Gallus, Ariana Grace, Tatum Paxley, Izzy Dame, Wendy Chu, Brenly Reese, and more. It's like, we gave you Jordan Grace and Joe Hendry. Thanks for Gallus and Dante Chen.
Well, first of all, Dante Chen will not be slandered in this house. Thank you for Brinley Reese.
It does rule. Those were the those were the exchanges there. But that's, to your point, that's sort of what this partnership is. NXT is going to look at people that they think would be valuable to their brand, and they are saying, right or wrong, they're saying, hey, we're going to put this person on our show to increase their exposure. So when they go back to your show, they will bring that exposure with them. We're going to give you kind of our mid-level people and lower because we need them to get reps, because our top people are our top people. We're not going to loan you Oba Femi, no offense, but we're not going to give you Oba Femi because we've got plenty of stuff for Oba Femi to do. We've got reps for Oba Femi. We don't have reps for Dante Chen. So he can be used on your show. That's what the partnership is. That's what happens when one company is up here and the other company is lower than that. That's just how it works. And if TNA is happy with that, which they seem to be, and if it helps them with their growth, which it has in various ways, then more power to them. Like, I think it's a smart move by TNA. I don't think they lose anything by this. Like, I think it helps them overall more than it hurts them. Excuse me. You know, I made a joke tweet yesterday that people got really in their feelings about, which is hilarious.
Oh, no. Oh, what did you do?
Did you not see this?
If I did, I do not remember. I'm gonna go. Let's see if I can find it. I know you're about to talk about it.
Oh, it's. I don't tweet that often, honestly.
That's true. Let's see this. Is 40 points? No, I'm just kidding.
That's a good tweet, by the way.
I'll get to it in a second. Oh, I saw that you also quote tweeted it. The replies to this tweet are great.
Yeah.
It's all over the blah, 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 blah. Barry Horowitz. It's gonna land okay. You can say it, or do you want me to read it?
The WWE partnership is gonna land TNA a better TV deal and put them on Wednesdays. I was picking up one of the 12 kids from school, and I'm in the parent pickup line. I just thought of this stupid ass tweet. I put no thought into this. You kidding me?
Oh,
People,
Chris Walder got upset by this. Damn it, Chris.
who?
Our buddy, my pal Chris, he's a Toronto, he's a beat writer for the Raptors. But
Really?
yeah, he's great. Chris is the guy that I got to. He did Know Your News once upon a time, and then he and I just kind of kept in touch. He and I sat together at Dynamite for the when they did the TNT match between Christian and Cope, and I sat there yelling "kick him in the dick," and he got exposed to my whole like all wrestling matches are better if you just kick him in the dick. So yeah, I love Chris. Great guy.
You should invite him on the show.
I should.
Know.
If he's available, he'll come and talk about it. He's a big AEW fan.
Oh, was he? What was his response to this? I probably missed. I ignored so many responses.
It literally just says, "Please don't speak this into existence."
Oh, okay.
There were some other people who obviously had very different approaches, but like Chris is pretty even keeled about shit like this. It's just very funny to watch him be the top reply on my page.
I don't want to talk about wrestling with Chris. If you say he covers the Raptors, not that there's a whole lot to talk.
Oh, he'll talk about basketball for sure. He's a good dude.
All right, we should have Chris on the show. And people are really in their feelings about this. Like, I'm obviously joking, but I also do see a world where maybe they get something better out of this. And then WWE's like, hey, you ever thought about running on Wednesdays? What do you guys think about that?
We ran every other night of the week.
Like, it's not out of the possibility, right? Like, it could happen. It could happen.
I mean, if there's a reality too, where like after the NBA deal is done with TNT, that Collision moves to another night. And the only other reasonable night is Thursday, because that's when they're taping Collision most nights anyway. So like at that point, TNA is just like, oh, well, fuck this. Now we got to find a different night. And then they can't do Tuesdays. They can't do Mondays. They can't do Fridays, and they're not going to run the weekend. So like Wednesday, Thursday is the day. Just give them a better time slot on a major company channel on Thursday, on a Wednesday. Yeah. Or keep Thursday and get off of Access. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just, we'll see what it brings. I think it's good for the intention of what it's going to be. Could it be better? Probably, but maybe WWE will give them some different talent. Maybe they give them a guy like Omos. Omos over in Pro Wrestling Noah, he's doing good things over there. Maybe they give him something like that. WWE has so much talent that they can kind of give some of these main roster people who maybe aren't featured weekly and have them go to TNA and have them in some kind of viable storylines to just keep busy until maybe they figure out a plan for them on the main roster or on NXT. Like neither company is hurting for talent. This is a way to spread it across more television time. The same thing with this is what WWE ID is doing as well. It's like, all right, we're kind of getting first dibs on these people. But they're going to continue to wrestle, and we're going to keep an eye on them. And when we think they're ready, or when we have a spot for them, maybe we'll bring them in, and maybe they can be part of TNA when they bring them in. So it's a continuation of what we saw in 2024. If both sides were happy with what happened in 2024, there's no reason not to continue it.
They had a soft launch. That's what it was last year. And I told people, I was like, this will continue. This won't be some big, like, expect Roman Reigns to show up on Impact. That's not going to happen.
Cool.
It would rule.
Imagine Roman Reigns showing up to, 1,500. The Rock showed up to NXT 1,500 strong.
It's different when you got shares in the company, Jeremy. You know that. And you got to make up for your Monday night mishap.
Roman Reigns coming out there and being like, WWE is where they tell you that, oh, you got to be there. You need to be there. TNA wrestling is where you want to be. You want to cross the line.
And so Zeno Hour is mentioning a deal with Noah is probably next. Question is, will WWE make a partnership with AAA? Technically, AAA and TNA have a partnership already. So like WWE just kind of gets to hang on the fruits of that. It's fine.
This is what WWE
versus the system and tribal combat. It's awful.
Honestly.
Moose and Roman Reigns having a promo off.
This is what WWE has always wanted to do. This is what Triple H has always wanted to do. The global localization. And then the big term they throw around. They tried it with NXT UK and it didn't work for various reasons. And then they were going to launch NXT Europe, which no longer exists. Don't ask about that. But now in America, that's essentially what they're doing. They're partnering with schools, they're partnering with different companies, and it's just a feeder to WWE.
Yeah, that's all it is. Ten Rizzo sent a couple of super chats saying because WWE partnerships go well throughout history. It's a little different now. Historically, yeah, they don't always end so well with WWE working with partners, but TNA has nothing to lose in this case. They really, I cannot tell you how much they do not have to lose with this partnership. They can get stripped for parts and they still will get paid, and that will be good enough for a lot of them. And then Tenrys are following up with just have Endeavor or TKO buy Anthem Sports. F it. I also don't expect TKO to buy Anthem because they don't have any properties that are worth owning and continuing. So this is another one where it's like, if they buy TNA, they probably won't keep it around. They'll strip a lot of pieces for it. One thing that I would like to see coming out of this partnership, believe it or not, is actually a behind the scenes thing. I want to see better quality equipment for TNA. I want to see NXT or WWE be able to afford TNA the ability to get proper upgrades, not just like we have LED video boards now, or we paid our Photoshop guy an extra $3 an hour. I gotta stop ripping on it like that. But the point is, I just want to see some upgrade to their presentation. They've had little ones, but like I want to see them really emerge with this partnership and become more than they have been, presentationally speaking.
Yeah. We'll see if they do that.
Yeah. I think that this ultimately works for the talent. It ultimately works for WWE, for NXT, for TNA. Like, again, everyone knows their place in this agreement. TNA has been trying to figure out what they are for the last 5-6 years. The rebrand wasn't like the beginning. It was the next logical step after they cleaned off the name. And you had talent, ironically, who are both the two top talent who banged the drum to rebrand at TNA are leaving the company in the next month or sooner. So that's very funny to me. But like it's been worthwhile. It's worked for them. There's opportunity in this whole partnership to do more. Wilchism saying, just let me see Julia Stephanie versus Masha. I'm fine with that. Stephanie Vacour versus Masha Slamovich. Julia versus Masha Slamovich. There are a lot of really cool matches that could exist, especially in the knockouts division. And I mentioned the other one. There is also kind of a dark rumbling that maybe this is their way to kind of backdoor Tessa into WWE.
No.
I hope it's not, but unfortunately, it's kind of expectation at this point.
I don't know. I mean, Jordan is facing Tessa on Sunday. You know, it could end up being Jordan's last dates with the company, and we'll see past that.
She also has an interview with CVV coming up.
I saw that. Yeah, we'll see when it comes to that. If I'm WWE NXT and I'm looking at it's the same thing I would say with TNA when she ended up returning to TNA, except on a much larger scale. Does Tessa really help you? Does she help you? They don't need it. TNA, you could at least semi make the argument because any publicity is good publicity for them. Tessa's not like this proven draw or anything, she's done all her work, and her biggest work was in TNA. That was it. And she had a fine run. She got some attention for TNA at the time, and then it all kind of went away, and it went away for good reason. And she's been out of the picture for the past almost 5 years now until reinserting this past December. Like, does it really help you? Do you need it? That was the argument of like, oh, do you really need to bring back CM Punk? Because like, are you hurting for top tier talent right now? And the answer was no. But CM Punk was proven top level draw. It's like, yeah, we might as well do that. There's no proof that Tessa's some top level draw. They've already got plenty of talented women. It's not even, not even on the main roster, which obviously they're there. We look at all the women who are ready in NXT who could come up, who could be well positioned if they decided to do that. Tessa's not someone they really need. I'd much rather them just focus on the women they already have, because they already have so many talented women on the roster. You don't need to just bring in Tessa and give her somebody's spot.
Exactly. I'm sure they're going to try to use her. I'm sure they are. When it comes down to the draw stuff you talked about, so TNA had been internally kind of touting, and this got out through, I think, PW Insider, that they are currently on pace to have a better turnout than ROH did for Final Battle 2 years ago when they ran the same venue, the Curtis Caldwell Center in Texas, in Dallas. And first of all, it's good for TNA, but this was not on the back of one person. This was absolutely a team effort. There are a lot of stars in TNA that bring that out there. And now people had mentioned like, oh, and the walk-up situation is going to be even better. Buddy, you just got a big walk-up when you decided to say yesterday that NXT is also going to be a part of it, because the second you start invoking any WWE into your pay-per-view, that's going to start getting people talking like, what can happen? Like I said, if you're thinking of going, don't get your hopes too high. Don't like The Rock's not going to show up at Genesis. Although he might. He has shown up on TNA programming before. It could happen. Who knows? But I wouldn't be expecting like Cody Rhodes versus Moose for the championship. That's the play. No. The idea here being though that again, NXT gets a look at talent. NXT stars who are already signed to the brand, who are newer, get a new place to work, get new reps, and it's a place for them to be on TV. It's just more opportunity, TV time for all of these people, and that's good. I think from a wrestler standpoint, there's a lot of really good, cool stuff that can happen.
They're branding TNA Genesis as with like the NXT logo and everything. Josh saying there's no NXT talent scheduled for Genesis right now. Run in from minor talent would be my.
Sorry, no, they don't have NXT talent scheduled, but I think the idea here is that whatever happens at the end of Genesis sets up for Vengeance Day, because that is almost certainly going to be a TNA NXT heavy show.
So that was going to be kind of my point of, if they're ever going to use like whatever tier talent they might use for TNA, this weekend would be when they do it, because it's fresh off the partnership announcement. And it's, before, like last year, it was said without being said, right? It was, hey, we're using talent, you're using talent, things are copacetic between us. But now they're doing big press release. Triple H is tweeting about it. Shawn Michaels is tweeting about it. All the wrestlers are tweeting about it and everything. Like they're doing like media stuff for it. So if you're ever going to do like kind of, oh, Julia's here, or Trick Williams is here. And Trick Williams, they said, like, what's his next move? If you're ever going to do something like that, Sunday would probably be the opportunity where they would do it. I'm not saying you're going to get Trick Williams or anybody like that on Sunday. But if they were ever going to put some top tier, or at least above Charlie Dempsey tier talent on NXT or on TNA, Sunday would be the opportunity.
It's going to be The Undertaker. Just show up in his bike.
Could you imagine?
After Masha retains the title, she's celebrating. Gong. Masha's like, and then out comes The Undertaker on his big old bike. That's how you do it, right? That's how it would happen.
Good.
Fraxium, Cora Jade, People mentioning in the chat. Sure.
Core J's a shout. Yeah, there's a shout with the Core Jade there.
Yeah, listen, they're more than likely going to do Cora versus Masha at either the live TNA Impact or they'll do it at Vengeance Day. Like there's room for that. Fraxium could set up a tag team title match. Maybe they'll do a friendly versus the Hardys. Fraxium versus Matt and Jeff in like a non-title where the champions matchup match. Be fine.
I'm gonna push the Trick Williams. The Trick Williams appearance, since he was wondering what his next move was. Nick Nemeth is going to win. That's right. Nick Nemeth retains the title. Sorry, wow. Joe Hendry stands.
Holy shit. You're just honey-tricking the fans again.
Nick Nemeth, sorry. Nick Nemeth is going to win. And maybe JBL is going to be there. Maybe not. I don't know. But Nick Nemeth's going to stand tall. It's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, you're just going to hear Booker T. And Booker T's gonna go, and then you're gonna hear the bass. Whoop that trick, boom, yeah, But then Trick Williams doesn't actually appear. You just hear Booker T's voice. And Nick Nemeth is like looking around all confused. He's like, is Booker T showing up? Is Trick Williams showing up? Who's gonna show up? And then JBL shows up. And JBL stands at the top of the ramp. As whoop that trick. Yeah, whoop that trick. Whoop that trick. I like it. And JBL's just standing there, tipping his cap to Nick Nemeth. And the show goes off the air. That's how TNA Genesis ends.
This is NXT getting back at TNA for the end of Heatwave when Joe Hendry got the turnaround spot at the end. This is that. That's all it is. I hate it.
I just set up 3 great stories right there.
You
got
made
Nick Nemeth, JBL.
You gave me hell is what you did.
You got Nick Nemeth and Trick Williams. You got JBL and Booker T, possibly. That's a WrestleMania main event anywhere in the world. Like, look at this. This is a great finish to this show.
Total.
Joe Hendry, meanwhile, is just crying on the outside.
Crying into his $100 bill from the NXT contract he's getting. Total nonstop trick. They can't do that because it's TNT.
Trick nonstop action.
Trick nonstop action. Although total nonstop trick would be hilarious if they're going to go run Wednesdays. Oh, it was TBS. I mean, it was TNT. Now it's TBS, but it still works. It'd be very funny. Oh, man. Anyway. My wife doing passive aggressive things, throwing towels at me.
My wife.
She said it's aggressive. She's right. It was aggressive.
She should come on air and punch you. That'd be hilarious.
No, we get demonetized.
Would we?
Yeah. For what she wasn't.
What did she think of the Jeff Jarrett and MJF promo?
She doesn't care.
Okay.
Oh, God. No, she doesn't watch wrestling. She hates it. Very, very famously hates wrestling. Good for her. Nobody called anyone's wife a trick. Oh, my God. All right. We should start wrapping this gimmick up.
Who cares?
Genesis is Sunday. Crescent Star, Steven Jensen, and I will be doing a post show. It'll be fun.
Is this show going to be any good?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
The matches to look out for, obviously Hendry getting his moment. I think they're doing it.
Nope, I've already booked the
I know you did. My actual feeling is that Hendry wins. He shows up on Thursday for the live Impact and says, I'm going to be the first TNA World Champion, TNA World Men's Champion to declare for the Royal Rumble. I'm going to be in the Rumble and I'm going to bring this with me. He's going to, they'll make that a moment because it's a live show and it's Joe Hendry's got the title. Hendry will probably hold it until Rebellion, probably like April, May, and then Kazarian will cash in with his Call Your Shot Gauntlet. He'll have the championship going into UBS Arena where Mike Santana will get the victory because he's at home. Now everyone's saying like, oh, you're not going to sell many tickets to UBS Arena like that. Well, here's the thing about that. You're there because they need someone to 100% boo one guy, Frankie Kazarian, and 100% cheer the good guy who also happens to be the hometown hero, Mike Santana. Santana's about to get the rub from Josh Alexander because they're doing an I Quit match, which I think will be a standout match on Sunday as well. Go out of your way to watch that one. I think Santana and Alexander will put on a banger. And at the end of it, Alexander will shake Santana's hand and basically say, you are the new guy. He pretty much said as much on Thursday, did Josh Alexander. So that's going to be looked forward to. And then Santana will win at UBS Arena, and that'll be the beginning of that for Santana. And like Ken's saying, they're not trying to sell out UBS. They not only got a good deal, but also they just want to do better than the last time they ran Slammiversary, where they had 4,000 tickets sold. They'll be happy if they get 4,500. And with this deal, they could easily get it. If you get a big star, if you get an AJ Styles, if he's ready to go by then, bring him in. Have a match. I said to you, do a Hardy's car crash match. That'll get people in the venue easily. TNA is really good at working with the talent that they have to make everyone appear big, and therefore the matches are good. Yeah, Genesis will be a fun show. I don't expect a ton of surprises, although the NXT stuff now throws a wrench into that, but I don't think it'll be like the Rock shows up type of mentality.
Jordan Grace should
kick out at 2.99 on the finish. Absolutely, yes. But she's a professional, and I know that she's going to be fine. And I said this to SP3 on our preview. You notice that the entirety of their build, what's the one thing they haven't done? They haven't done a face-to-face promo. I think when the reporting about pushback from Jordan was brought up, I think that was part of the concessions. Just, we're going to brawl, but we won't be talking.
Jordan would
absolutely say some shit, yes, and I would look forward to that. Yes.
God damn, you're working, you're shooting, kid. Don't know.
Exactly.
Plus Jordan, she rules.
She does. I'm looking forward to her conversation with Chris Van Vliet. I'm sure she'll touch a little bit on the Tessa stuff, but yeah, I don't expect anyone to get too deep in the weeds with that, because that's our show. SmackDown tonight?
Yeah.
3 hours of SmackDown and 3 things on the dockets.
I think there's 4. They added one.
They added one? Well, here's the first one. The return of Solo Sikoa.
You should do a 20-minute promo calling the entire audience whores. The rule. You should call his whole bloodline whores. You see how big this family tree is? This family's nothing but a bunch of whores. Just whoring around, creating this giant-ass family tree.
Jacob Fatu comes out, starts singing, "Spend my days working hard on the go." Anyway.
I love the family whores, and I love you Solo.
It's the whore line. this bloodline's gonna run a train on you.
That'd be way better than Solo's stupid promo where he's like, "Oh, acknowledge me. I'm still the tribal chief, and we're gonna take back everything." And that's it. That's all I got.
WWE Tag Team Championship #1 contenders match. Motor City Machine Guns take on Los Garzas.
Sure.
That'll be fun. And Tiffany Stratton versus Bayley for the women's title. Does Roxanne Perez get involved?
No, we had this conversation. No, I don't think Roxanne gets involved. There's a spot for her, obviously. Like, they set that up on Tuesday. I wouldn't be mad about it. I would understand it. I just don't think she does.
Fine by me. I think she'll sit at ringside.
Okay.
That'll be enough.
Fair. They added Naomi and Bianca against Candice and Nia non-title match.
Oh, non-title? What are we doing here?
Maybe Nia and Naomi win, or sorry, that would be a team. Maybe Nia and Candice win to earn a title shot. Hey, maybe they remember that Jade Cargill got taken out like 5 years ago and reference that.
And I'm sure we'll get another match announced for Saturday night's main event coming out of this. Probably the tag team title match, to be honest.
You think they're going to put that on Saturday night's main event? Motor City.
They're not going to run it at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to run a Rumble, but I guess Saturday night's main event kind of works. Motor City against Gargano and Ciampa at Saturday nights. I'm not mad at that. That's fine.
Yeah, it'll be an easy tag team title match to run.
Yeah, give him some time. That'll
Yeah.
be a good match. It was a good match the first time. It'll be a good match again.
And it's honestly the only match right now that they're running at Saturday Night's Main Event where like you could change a championship. So who knows?
And it's been hot potatoing those tag team titles. Like it's fine, but I don't know if they want to continue to hot potato those titles so much.
I'm hungry for a hot potato now. Got anything to plug? Yeah, I'm pretty hungry. I had a good breakfast this morning, so it was nice.
Okay. GCW Hammerstein this weekend. That's also a pretty big show that we'll be covering.
Looking forward to Matt Cardona versus PCO.
Is that who he's going to face? He's not.
I am so sure at this point that they are going to do that.
They already announced PCO, though.
They haven't announced his opponent, though.
No, they haven't, but they've already announced PCO for the show. Like, I don't feel like they're going to do PCO as the surprise opponent when they already announced him for the show. I
think they will. I think it'll be really funny, and I think they will.
That would suck. No knock on PCO. Like PCO has a spot on this card. I think he can do something fun, but him being Cardona's opponent when like he's already announced for the show, yeah, you got to go with somebody unannounced. Yeah, you just have to. Like Sabu's been announced for this show, but at least Sabu, if he does the match, like would be kind of fun and interesting, even though he's already announced for the show. But yeah, if it's PCO, that's kind of a disappointment. You're better off just paying Sabu the extra $50 to do some bumps.
Sabu ain't doing it. Sabu ain't working that show, brother.
He can just bump. Like
he can't move like that.
Nah,
it ain't gonna happen.
Maybe it can't.
Well, like I'm looking up and down the card, like the Bloodsport match when they announced that it was Tom Pestek. That's a
sweet match. I like that.
Former Baron Corbin. And Corbin, Tom Pestek has been doing some BJJ stuff, some martial arts training and events. So this will be a fun match.
He's been doing jiu-jitsu tournaments. He's got a gold glove boxer as well. So like he's got the combat sports background to where this makes sense. That'd be a lot of fun. And I think Barnett doesn't lose a lot of these matches. He's literally only lost to Moxley and Timothy Thatcher. This is one that he might be willing to take an L on.
I just don't know where these people fit in. Like I'm looking at the card. First of all, it's a big card. It is a lot of matches. I don't know where PCO fits in other than this Matt Cardona match, unless he comes and like gets involved with the Janela and Masato Tanaka match, or he's a part of the Ultra Violent Extreme Championship Unification match.
Yeah, they've just been adding people to that thing, so maybe that happens.
They've got 8 in there right now. I feel like they've
It started like 6. It did. That's what I'm saying. They've just been adding people to the thing.
That's fair. But like looking at it, I think they've got pretty much the people that they want, unless they're like at the last minute PCOs in this thing, because why not? He's been an ultraviolet. I think he's been an ultraviolet champion too in that promotion.
I just hope PCO's not the person for Cardona. That would feel like such a letdown, especially like Cardona's even tried to like build it up and everything. And if it's just like PCO, it's like, oh, cool, we're getting a TNA storyline in GCW, like literally a TNA storyline. They did this in TNA. I don't need it on this GCW show.
PCO was the GCW Extreme Champion for 1,225 days.
Good for him.
So he could very well show up in that event. He should win that title and then bring all 3 titles to the live TNA show in Texas, where they write him out. Let Sami Callihan take him out. I think that's it for whatever's going on in GCW land for the weekend.
We're hoping for a big night from my frenemy Cole Radrick. Hope he wins the GCW tag team titles with Alec Price, and he's still got the brass ring that he could potentially cash in. So we'll see if he does that. But I expect Effie to win the world title at the end of this show.
Okay, I wouldn't hate that. Otherwise, it'll be a fun show. There are a lot of people, a lot of multi-man matches. So we'll see how this goes. Gonna watch that show after TNA. So y'all should come and watch everything with us as well. We'll do a post show on Sunday. We'll have the Fightful Awards at 6 p.m. also on Sunday. So go check that out. And Jeremy and I are back on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern to talk about all of this shit and then all the other shit. It'll be a good show because there's so much shit to talk about that you'll never be able to talk about more shit. Anything to plug?
Fightful Awards, Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, youtube.com/Fightful.
Hell yeah. Yeah, we'll be back Monday. Go enjoy your weekend, or don't. I prefer you do. Go watch wrestling or don't. That one I don't care about. For Jeremy Lambert, I am at Joel Pearl, thejoelfeld.com on Blue Sky. I know we got to get to the thing.
All right.
Yeah, we got to do.
Sometimes I think you forget because you like go to your like outro, and I'm like, you remember?
It's Friday. I know it's Friday.
Okay.
When Friday comes, you got it. Are you ready? You ready?
Mana, the final boss. And here we go. This is how good. The final. God damn, that's good shit.
And here we go. Because this is how good. Damn, that's good shit.
Ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, have a good shit. I mean, a good show. I mean, a good weekend. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.